Hi there. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can create a story on Flow. So we'll be looking at everything from pitching the story to allocating the assignments to your staff and ultimately publishing it to your website. Keep in mind that many of the things I'll be demonstrating in this video, such as assignment types, story tags, checklists, workflows, etc., are all customizable. And we do have additional Flow videos on how to customize all of those settings for your Flow account and for your publication. So please be sure to check out those additional videos. So to add a new story to Flow, I'm going to start in the Stories view, which is the second icon here on the left. This is where you can easily access all of the stories that are currently active or in progress for your publication. To add a new story to this spreadsheet, I'm going to click on the blue plus sign up here at the top and create story. Now, I will mention this is something that all users are going to be able to do regardless of their user role, but certain things will be limited once we get into setup of the story based on user role, and I'll talk more about that in a second. So I'm going to create a story here and give it a title and create. And now the first screen is going to be the setup details for this story. So I'm going to start over here on the left with the story status. This is something that staff users are not going to be able to change. Anytime they add a story to your Flow account, it is going to default to a pitched status. Editor or admin users can come in here and adjust that story status. The deadline is something else that staff users are not going to be able to change. It's going to default to however many days you've designated in your Flow settings from the time that the story is created. Editors or admin users can change the deadline here. The next three boxes here on the left are our story tag groups, and this is basically where the story is going. So I'm going to say this will be a news section story. It's going in our online and newspaper publications. And because it's going in my print newspaper, it is going in the September issue. These story tag groups are highly customizable, so I would definitely recommend checking out the video on how to set those up. In addition to the story tag groups, you can also add custom tags to a story. So for instance, if this was a football story and I wanted to tag it as such, just kind of an additional layer of organizing there. And then you can also CC me if you'd like to receive notifications anytime something happens on this story. Lastly, on this first screen, I can choose the assignment types that are going to be part of this story, basically the products or the content that your staff will be creating. So let's say this story has a writing and a photography assignment. I'm going to go ahead and click on this plus sign, and that is going to bring me to the next screen here. Now that the story is created, if I go take a look on the spreadsheet or the stories view page, I can see there's my story with the assignment types, and I get a nice visual of the progress. So my next step would be allocating those assignments to members of my staff. And there are kind of two different ways that you can do that. I'm going to click into that story. First, you can leave it open for volunteers. So if I am a writer coming in looking for an assignment, I can click on the writing assignment for this story and volunteer for it. Now, just because somebody volunteers does not mean they're automatically assigned. They do have to be approved by either an editor or an admin user. So let's go ahead and approve this volunteer for writing. That's one option. The other option would be assigning things directly to your staff. So for instance, if I toggle to the photography assignment for this story, let's say I know Kyle is going to do the photography, I can come in as an editor or an admin and assign it to Kyle here. Once those assignments are allocated to your staff, there are a couple different ways they can upload their content. Let's start with writing. If you have your Google account integrated to Flow, your writers will see the option up here to create a Google Doc. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just takes a second to set that up. This Google Doc is always going to remain attached to this story. So your writer can come in and view it, and they can do all of their drafting directly in the Google Doc here. I'm just going to really quickly place some text in so that it kind of looks like a story when we go to send it to the website. Similarly, your editors, when they are looking at stories in a workflow, are going to be able to come in here, open up that Google Doc, make comments, etc. And if you don't use Google Docs, there is a link icon up here at the top where you could add a link to, let's say, a Microsoft Word document. So there is a workaround for that if you do not have your Google account or if you do not use Google Docs on Flow. For photography, there is a camera icon down here at the bottom. That is where your photographer will attach their images. They can either upload new images from here or they can select images that are already uploaded to the Flow gallery. I'm just going to select and attach an image here, and then I can see it showing up at the bottom. For other types of assignments or content, there are a couple different ways you can upload those. So for instance, let's say we had a podcast with this story. I could use that paperclip icon and I could link out to where that podcast is located. Or in this note section, I could include the embed code for the podcast. So again, a couple different ways for that more multimedia type of content to add that to your assignments here. Once the assignees are finished uploading their products, they are going to want to use a workflow to send it to their editors or whoever needs to review it before it's published. So I'm going to go ahead and select a workflow here for this particular assignment. And these workflows, again, are something that is highly customizable. So I recommend that you check out that video about workflows. In this case, when the assignee is finished with the assignment, they're going to see a green button to submit to that workflow. And from there, whatever that first step in the workflow is, will get notified. They can come in and either return it to the assignee for revisions or approve and submit it to the next group in the workflow. And that process would repeat until the final person or group approves it. The next thing over here, you can set different deadlines for your assignment types. So for our writing assignments, we have a rough draft deadline. For our photography assignments, we have a rough and final draft deadline here. So your assignees can check those off as they hit those deadlines. And then lastly, we do have the option of creating tasks or a checklist of tasks. And you can either type those in manually here, or you can pre-create these checklists and then attach them to an assignment. And again, assignees can check these things off as they complete them. So once all of this work is done and everything's been passed through the workflow, the tasks are all completed, to send this story over to your website, you're going to use this Publish to WordPress button up at the top. This is something that by default only editors or admin users can do. So I'm going to go ahead and publish to WordPress. Flow is going to basically pull in all of the information to get this story ready for my website. There are a couple things I'd want to set up here. For instance, I want to make sure I have the correct category selected. I can add tags to my story, make sure I have the template I want, etc. And then from here, I can either send this story as a draft or publish it live to the website. The last thing you'll probably want to do with this story, and you can do this before you send it to the website or after, is come in and grade it if you are using Flow for grading. To do that as the advisor, you want to click on this grade story button here. You will see anybody who has been assigned to this story, and you can either give them a score, or if you've created rubrics, you can select the rubric that you want to use to grade and fill that out here. So once a story is finished and it's been sent to your website and any grading that you need to do is finished with that story as well, the last thing that you will want to complete is you will want to archive the story in Flow. And basically what that archive story button is going to do is it's going to remove it from this spreadsheet. And so we do recommend that just so this spreadsheet stays focused on your current in progress active stories on your Flow account. So again, when a story is sent to your website or completed and you've completed any grading associated with that story, you can come in here and click the archive story button to remove it from that spreadsheet. So that is everything involved with creating a new story in Flow, uploading the contents of the story, and then ultimately sending it from Flow to your website. As I mentioned, we do have several other videos that go through how to customize some of those things like workflows and checklists in more detail. So please be sure to check those out. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at support@snowsites.com. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.